Odoo software. It's another product that you may or may not have heard of, and it used to be called Open ERP. It's one of the leading, if not the leading, open source ERP systems, and in fact the only open source ERP system to make our top 10 list. And it's highly adopted by small and mid-market companies across the world. Very easy to use, very straightforward system, has very straightforward pricing, which a lot of small and mid-market companies appreciate. It also allows you to do a lot with it. There's a lot of flexibility in Odoo in terms of integration and adding applications and working your way and growing your way into the full capabilities of the software. A lot of the other systems in our top 10 list require you to implement a broad cross-section of functionality in order for the whole thing to work, whereas Odoo is built more modular to where you can implement module by module as your company grows and expands. Now, the downside of Odoo is that it requires a certain amount of focus and attention. It's an open source system, which is good news. That provides a lot of flexibility, but it requires very much of a hands-on implementation approach to figuring out how you want this all to work for your organization. There's a little bit more legwork from the, call it the end user perspective or the functional implementation perspective. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you're an organization that's growing very quickly and you don't have a lot of IT staff and you don't have a lot of bandwidth to be messing around with software, trying to figure out how to implement it and manage it day to day, that can be a little bit much for some organizations. And the other part of it is that it doesn't have as much predefined business processes and workflows as you might find with some of the other vendors in the top 10 list. So those are some things to think about or some trade-offs that come along with it. But given the fact that so many organizations use it and it is flexible, easy to use, focused on the small to mid-market, that's enough to land Odoo at number 3 on our list. NetSuite, product owned by Oracle and supported by Oracle. And NetSuite is a SaaS multi-tenant software as a service product. So it's in the cloud, it's multi-tenant, meaning lots of different companies use the same instance of the software. You obviously get your own ability to configure and tailor the software for your own individual needs, but it's more of a vanilla standard type of ERP system. Now, that can be a good or bad thing depending on what type of organization you have. If you have one that is a fairly vanilla organization in terms of its back office operations and you're okay with it just adapting to the way the software works, then it's not a problem. But if you have a complex organization or you really value flexibility or you have things that are super unique to you as a small business, NetSuite can be somewhat constraining or limiting. The other downside of NetSuite is it can be expensive. When compared to some of the other products we talked about in the top 10, NetSuite is one of the higher cost ones we found in terms of software licenses and ongoing subscription fees. That is something that can be negotiated. Independent third parties like ThirdStage can help you negotiate that, but in general we find that the cost is higher oftentimes for NetSuite. But all of that in mind and all those things considered is enough to land NetSuite at number 1 on our list.